Hey guys, I am Nishant and welcome to Cybernetico. So in this video, let's design a basic red light green light from the Squid Game series. We can click start button. You will see a player here, and when the doll turns backwards, we can move like this. And it turns forward. So we can only move when the doll is backwards. Stop. Move. Stop. Stop. And if we reach the finish line, we can see an alert here. So you can add your own toast messages and anything you want. But this is just a basic game. We can click reset now and everything will be on the base position. So let's see how to build this using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So let's start by creating one simple HTML file, one for CSS and one for JavaScript. And in HTML file, we can link them up, like CSS is here and JavaScript is here. We also have assets folder which contains the Squid Game card, the doll back, the doll front, and the player MP3 and the player PNG. And one more for doll.mp3 which contains the sound effect when the game is being played. Now let me create div here in the body. Let's ID this as game area. Let me copy this ID, go to index.js, and we need to load everything when the game loads. So we can do document.add event listener, and this will trigger when the DOM contents are loaded. We will have an callback function, and in here we can do our stuff. So let's select this ID first. So we can say const game area equals to document.getElementById by ID and the game area. Let me create one doll image. So we can say const doll image document.createElement. So this will create an element which can be our image or img tag using JavaScript. And in the doll image, we can dynamically pass the src, which is the image source. So let me go to assets and doll front.png. Now we need to append our game area with this doll image. So game area.append child. So doll image will be a child of this game area. So save, and we can have this. Now let me do one stuff here. In the body, we can do background color as 212121, and let's align everything in the center. So text align center. Now let me adjust the width of this doll image. So doll image dot width, let's make it as 150. Now let's add a start button here. So to do that, let's go to index.html file and simply do button here to start the game. Let's add the ID of start btn. So we can copy this ID and select it. So we have the button here. Let's select it in the JS file. So we can say in here, we can do const start btn equals to document dot get element by ID start btn. Now we have this. Let me attach an event listener to this. So add event listener, click callback function. Whenever we click the start button, this function should run. So let me just alert something. It will say game started. Let's try this out. Click start, and we can see alert as game started. Let's design the button. Let's give a class to the button, and this should be start btn also. So we can just add width 100px, height 20px. Let's make it 30. Okay, 30 is fine. Let's add a background color of green yellow. We can add anything you want here. Let's try green. Now we need no borders. So to remove the borders, we can do border as none. Now let me change the font. We also need to attach one cursor as pointer so that if you hover it, the cursor will be changed to pointer. Now let me make the font as bold, so we can do it like this. So font family, okay, not font family. Okay, let's also attach some fonts here. So font family, let's say this, a semicolon, and save. Now font weight will be equals to 600. Okay, it's too much. Let's make it 500. I think that's fine, but we don't need this. Okay, now let me make the font as big. So font size, let's say 18 pixels. Yeah, it's big. In that case, let's make width as 40. Yes, we now have the start button, but let's move it somewhere around here at the top corner. So in this case, we will do absolute positioning, position absolute left 0 pixels, top 0 pixels. The start button is here. If we click it, our game should start. Now on click of the start button, we need to do a few things. The first of them is we need to add the player. So in this case, we can remove this alert and we can do this. So in this game area, we need to append the played image. So let me first create the played image. So let's say player image, it will be an image or img tag. Let's specify the location of the image. So played image.src equals to, it is in assets player dot png. These assets you can find in the directory that I will provide. Now let's also add the width of the image. So played image dot width, and we can just append it to the game area. Game area dot append played image. Let's save. Let me click start and played image will be here. So we have the player, but we need to style it as well. So let me attach one style class name here. So played image dot class list dot add. Let's add played image. So let me come here, played image. So we need to make it at the bottom. So what we can do is just give position as absolute. Click start. It's sticking here. Also let's add bottom as 10 pixels. It's here. Let's add left as 50%. Now transform, translate minus 50% and 0. It's in the bottom, but in the center and the horizontal position. So it's now here in this case. So we can make bottom as 0. So the image, the played image is now here in the bottom 10 pixels and left as 50%, like in the center horizontally. Now let's write the logic for doll moving forward and backward. So currently it's in forward state and randomly it will move to backward state and vice versa. So from backward to forward, this will take 4 seconds to move. So let's start the logic. So in here, let's start the logic for forward phase. So const forward phase equals to, let's say math.random. We need a random integer. Let's multiply it by 5 and in the whole value, let's add 2. Save. Okay, it will not work here because we need to add one more thing here. So math dot floor to get the exact value. Now it will work. So if you check its value in the console, let's see what it is. So let me open the console. Click start. Let me pause the audio for now. Comment it. Click start. It's 2, 5, 4. So this is the time it will take for the doll to move from forward phase to backward phase. Now let's start the reverse. So this will be static value. So we can do backward face equals to math. Sorry, it's static, so make it as 4000. So we have this. Now let's rotate the doll. So to do that, we will use set timeout. Let's add the duration for the forward face here, multiplied by 1000 because it needs to be in millisecond. Now we need to show the backward face of the doll. So we can copy this doll front and simply replace front with back. Save. Now this is done. We need to also write the logic for backward face. For now, if I click start, it will rotate in 6 seconds. See, it's now on the backward side. So when it is backward, we need to make it move forward now. So set timeout, one more timeout. Now let's add this backward face timestamp, 4 seconds, which is, and we have to revert this back to the front face. So doll front. Save, click start. It's now facing forwards. It's now backwards, and in 4 seconds, it will be forward like this. So it's working. Now what we have to do is we have to move our player as well. So let's write the logic for that. First of all, we need to move this played image outside. So that we can manipulate it outside the function, which is start button dot add event listener. So we need to make something known as keystrokes. So we can do document dot add event listener key down, which is the event, which means when we press a key and release it. So we need to have an event here that we will use later. So we have the event, and in here we can simply change the player's position. So initially it is bottom 10 pixels and left 50%. So we need to remove bottom 10 pixels from here because we need to make it dynamic here. So in this case, we can simply do player image dot style dot bottom as, let's say, 10 pixels. So save it, and if I click start and if I press any button, it will be here. So we need to make this as the original value. So we can just specify this here. Played image dot style dot bottom as 10 pixels. So when it loads, it will be here automatically. So now what we have to do is we have to create a variable to manipulate the position when we press this key, which is upward key. What we can do is create a variable here called player position. Let's make it as this value 10. Now when we press the upward key, they should increase. So we can use the value player position here itself. So this can be done like this, and let's make this as numeric value, which is 10, so that it's easier to increment it. So now the player position is here. Okay, this is here. It will work the same. See, it's working. Or we can do this here as well. Yes. Now when we press the upward key, we need to add some value here. So let's say we add 10 here. So if I start, press any key, this will move upward, but it is happening only once. So what we can do is we can just increment it and then simply add this here, not add 10 here. So player image dot style dot bottom, this will be player position pixels, which will be 10 after each key press. So start, and let's see, it is moving upwards like this. But we need to only trigger this when we press upward key. So let me console this event to get the upward key. I mean the upward arrow key. Open the console, let me press up. Sorry, not this. Refresh, let me clear this. Start, let's press up. The target will be event.code. If event.code equals to let's say arrow up. We can run these things. Save it. Let's try it out. Let me close the console. Click start. Press the upward key. It is moving upwards. But if you press any other key, it will not move. So it's working. Now let's write the logic for collision, which means if the doll is not watching, only then our player can move. So in this case, we can simply create a variable here, which is moving, or let's say is watching. So initially it will be true because when we start the game, the doll is watching, its face is forwards. So here we have to do is watching as false. Now again, in this case, doll has the back position, it means we can move. Now here, this should be true again because now doll is facing forwards. So save. Now we have the is watching. So is watching is true when the doll is facing forwards. It is false when the doll is facing backwards. Now in here, when we press our upward key, we have to do this. So if is watching is true, it means the doll is watching. And when we move, game should be over. So we can make an alert here saying game over. Else, we can move the player here. So save this and let me uncomment this game audio.play. Let me refresh this and start. Doll is watching. We can move the player. Stop. It's watching. If I move it, it will be game over here. And in this case, we can reset the game now, but that will be done later. Now let's add a finish line logic. So we need to have a finish line. So we can make this here. So let's say finish line equals to document dot create element. So let's make it as an h. Okay, make it as a div. Save. Now we have a finish line and we can style it here only. We can style it here. So finish line dot style dot, let's say background color. Let's make it white. We can add some width. So finish line dot style dot width, say 90%. We can just append the finish line into the game area here. So we can do game area dot append child finish line. Save. So it needs a height as well. So let's define the height. Finish line dot style dot height 2px. So it's here. But we want this after the start button. So we can just give finish line dot style dot position as absolute. And let's make the height, make the width as 100%. So that it spans all over the screen, but it's too big. Let's try with, okay, what if we just remove it? No, it will not work. So let's make it 100px and we need to make it in the center. So I can do finish line dot style dot left equals to 50%, and we can do finish line dot style dot transform. So we can do translate minus 50% and 0. So it's in the center. So now we can make this as 200. It will increase. 300. It will increase. Now on the bottom, we can add the position so that it is like somewhere here. So we can do finish line dot style dot bottom equals to, let's say, 600 pixels. So it's here. Why don't we make this width as 700 pixels so that it is like this? So now let me write the game collision logic from the line. So we can make two variables here. First will be the line position. So make const line position equals to 600. And we need one more for game over equals to, let's say, false initially. So this will change over time. Now let's come down And when the game is over, when we are letting game over, we have to do game over as true. And when it is over, we have to return us outside this key down event block. So if game over is true, just return. Now in the else block, we have to check first if the player position is more than equals to line position, it means we have won. So we can alert something like this: you won, and turn the game over to true so that we are outside this block. So save this, and that's how we can write the logic for line collision. Now let's fix a few things in our game, I mean the game logic. So first thing is we have to turn this to set interval, not set timeout, because we need to run it on every interval which is forward phase into 1000 on some fixed interval. Now when the interval is complete, we have to clear it. For that we have to make a variable, let's say interval, and store the instance of the current interval in this interval variable like this. Now when one cycle is complete, this will run, which is the interval, and we have to clear so that we can run a new interval. So in here we can do this. So clear interval, and the same thing we have to do here. So save this. The next thing we have to do is fix the game audio. So when an interval completes, we have to play the audio again. So first of all, we have to do this. So in the set timeout, we have to do game audio dot current time equals to 0, and then we can simply do game audio dot play. So when the game audio is completed playing, it plays again from start. So we can try them. Let's move. Stop. So see, here we have a problem. The audio does not stop. Let's move this game audio creation, I mean the audio creation, outside this block. So we can make it here, and the game audio.src as well. So cut both of them and paste outside. The add event listener click. Now we can try this. We can move the player. So it's working. Now we have to disable the start button when the game is start playing. So when we click start, we have to disable it. So here do start button dot disable equals to true, and once if the game is over, we can make this false here and here as well when we win. So if we click start, it will be disabled, we cannot click. So we can move when the doll is not watching. So when game is over, it will be started again. Now let's add the start logic here. For that we need to make a button here. So let's add it just like the start button here. So add a reset button, and the same here. Name this as reset. So let me style them in the index.css file. So just like we have start button or btn, we can make reset btn. So left is 10, so make it 120 so that it is like this. So now we have start and we have reset button. Let's add the functionality. First we have to select the button here. So we can do constant reset btn and reset dash btn. Now when the game loads in the DOM content loaded, we have to add certain logic here. So just like that, we have this add event listener key down. We have to make reset btn dot add event listener. Let's say click. So on click of the button, we will run a callback function, and we will run one reset game function that will reset all of the parameters to like base. So we can say function reset game here. In the reset game function, We have to clear the interval, pause the game audio, and set the current time as 0. Basically set everything to default position. If we have the played image.parent node, we have to remove the played image from the DOM using the id and the remove function. The played image.remove. And that's pretty much it. That's how we can design a basic Squid game, I mean red light green light game, using JavaScript, HTML and CSS. You can add your own twists and turns here and make the game better. Thank you for watching.